What's your favorite narrative movie that barely has a plot, if a plot at all? I mean, I guess it's a requirement of a film to be qualified as narrative that it has to have some kind of plot, but...
Top of my head, I can think of like Tree of Life there's no story. I mean, there's a kind of a general like he's a father and he's abusive and kind of overprotective of his sons, and they kind of like grow up to hate him about that. But it's really just like this sort of like portrait of childhood, this free floating, almost non-narrative portrait of childhood that really doesn't have an overarching story to it. And in fact, at one point, goes all the way back to the beginning of the planet and dinosaurs. And stuff like that, and like spends like 10 minutes just staring at stars and space and stuff like that. Basically, there's a section of the film where it turns into Terrence Malick remakes the Rite of Spring section of Fantasia with the dinosaurs and the creation of the planet and stuff like that, with Douglas Trumbull special effects. Kind of came out of retirement to do it, but yeah, I mean it's a fairly challenging art film that is being sold as an almost mainstream film because it has a couple popular actors in it.
Well, there was the lack of plot actually did kind of bug me. I mean, like Goodbye Dragon Inn, I know people love that film. I felt it was really quite a slog to watch. And maybe if I went back in a different mood, I would totally get it. But there's no narrative. It's all about this sort of evocative movie theater. It's last night it's open. It's kind of a cool premise, but nothing happens. And each shot is just the static 10-minute take of them sitting.
No, I like that director. That's probably my least favorite of his films.
So which would you recommend most?
The River is really great. I think that's pretty much. I think that's considered the classic.
Yeah.
I would say that one. Also, his porn film is very good. The Wayward Cloud. It's great. It's pornography.
I find that often porn films don't really have much of a plot.
These movies don't have plot, but I think he's a little bit more bewitching with it. Also, The Hole is really great, but he's a little bit more like that one's a little bit more kind of just static. Or whatever. But
it would be fun to find the hugely plot-driven porn. What would that even be?
Like,
a movie where the sex scenes were secondary to the densely plotted.
Yeah, it's called Skinamax.
There's a pornography called Cafe Flesh from the 80s.
I have seen that one. That is a trip.
It's pretty insane, but it has this like really kind of awesome sci-fi premise that like everybody except for a small group of people have become completely impotent. So everybody goes to a club to watch sex acts that they can't get off to. And because
it's this
That's really twisted.
Done by the people who actually can experience sexual joy. And it turns out this one guy goes with his girlfriend, and it turns out the girlfriend actually secretly can experience sexual joy. So they entrap her on the stage, and there's this cruel MC who's even meaner than Joel Grey in Cabaret the entire time. And they actually edited this film down to an R-rated version. I'm not sure how long it is because it's just like weird, creepy stage shows.
What's it called?
Cafe Flesh from the 80s.
It's worth watching.
Sounds like Children of Men plus hardcore.
Basically,
that is what was missing from this.
Children of Men would have been much improved.
Much better by at least
by some
3
triple
hardcore
X
pornography scenes. As long as they didn't have Clive Owen in them.
Oh, and Alamar is the other one that I saw last year that I've actually seen a couple times.
Yeah, and there's barely a plot to that.
Yeah, barely.
But it's great.
Yeah.
It's
sort of
very
lures you in slowly.
And there's a kind of there is a sort of narrative construction eventually that kind of happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Almost disappointingly, I think, in
Really?
some way, where it goes back to the mom at the end.
like
It
that,
has that scene at the end with the mom. I was sort of ready for it to end in Mexico. But